Good way to start a video. I'm sorry guys, I knocked my wind chime. Hi everyone. I thought I would give you some autumnal tarot / oracle options today, or at least the ones I'm working with and that I'm finding appropriate for the season. I have got just done a different video. I have to like bulk record my videos one after the other as and when I can, because my house is not very quiet, so everyone's out at the moment. We've just seen this we saw it obviously last week in the beginners deck video, but there is no better deck for an English autumn. This is the deck of English autumn, the Oak, Ash and Thorn by the Three Trees tarot. This is definitely one I'm working with. It really helps me to connect to my environment. I'm currently doing a practice at the moment of looking up and researching animals that cross my path. I had a recent encounter with I'm going to put that aside because that's not part of it. Recent encounter with a squirrel. We have a lot of deers around where we are. We see rabbits everywhere, and the rabbits are quite tame, more tame than you would expect. You know, as long as you don't go straight up to them, then they'll run away. But they are plentiful. There are so many rabbits where we are. But there are also a lot of, now let me remember the name of them. God, what are they called? They're the deers around here. It's a certain type of deer. Munkjacks. We have a lot of munkjacks, which are just beautiful, inquisitive, curious little deers that have I did an impression for my sister recently. I said they almost jump out into the road in the middle of the night and go, hi, hello. They just want to be friends all the time, but obviously that doesn't do them very much good when they're running out into 50-mile-an-hour roads in the dark. We are in the country, so I suppose we can only expect this. Yeah, I don't see much foxes around here, but where I grew up, there were foxes everywhere all the time. I hear them, I don't see them as much. We have crows, ravens, rooks. We don't have ravens, sorry. We have crows and rooks everywhere. We have magpies everywhere. We have big daddy deers like this one. Again, unfortunately, one of them was hit, I feel like I want to say at the end of the summer season, which was really upsetting. We are in the season of squirrels here, definitely. Look, so pretty. This reminds me of a area where I went to visit the Druids Temple in Yorkshire. And as you go past the temple, there's a little bit like this, and the light shines through the trees, and it's just incredible. The little hedgehoggies, which we definitely have around here. Not so many wolves, but here's a major, so I'll let it slide, it's fine. The hare, oh my goodness. So yeah, this is a really nice deck to work with if you're looking to connect with your own biosphere. If you're in the UK, definitely looking to connect with your own biosphere. But it's very autumnal. For me, it's very autumnal. The colours obviously push it towards that sort of energy of preparing for the winter. I suppose because it's animals, you're thinking more about survival through the winter, prepping everything, getting all your loose ends tied up. You know, it's definitely got that energy about it. So that is my first autumn deck that is going to be out for work during the autumn. The next one, I have 3 oracles and 3 tarots. The next one is the Margarete Petersen tarot. This is you most probably won't find this one, this version of it. This is the original, and since then they've bought one out that has less of a board around it. It's a little bit smaller. This is a huge deck. I like this deck for grief work, for difficult, really sort of difficult readings, because there's nothing offensive about it. It's more of an intuitive, inspirational. Let me see if I can zoom in, because this is one of those ones that you could really get a lot from by looking up close. So yeah, this is more of a intuitive read. There's nothing frightening in it, but for me it gives me autumn energy. I think it's quite a soft energy. There's a lot of obviously really elemental references. Okay, I'm going to play with my exposure because I think we're losing a lot. There we go, that seems better. Sorry, I feel like the image was blown out a bit there. When you lay out these cards, you get the instant hit of the colours, the flow of the energy through the reading. You can see the directions. It's got a lot of, there are a few cards that don't seem to, not that they don't fit in, but they stick out a little bit compared to the rest. I particularly like the earth, the coins in this, and the footsteps and the footprints and the handprints and the other sort of fossils and things that you see in them. But this is one of my all-time favourite decks. See, we've got the progression of the two, the progression of the feet, like that idea of stepping into or making a decision to move forward. But it is, as I said, it's an intuitive read, so you need to sort of know your stuff first, and then you can really get some interesting hits from it when you are reading in context. There's so much more as well with each card. You will see more and more as you look at it. Let me see if I can. There we go. Like more and more comes to light. These make good sort of altar cards because you can, you know, every time you look at it you can find something else like this. Let's have a look at this. Something going on here. It's definitely a face or a woman or a person sat here. It looks like there's a little bit of sea froth, there's sunshine. You will just pick up more and more. So yeah, that is my second on the autumn altar deck. Ooh, lost focus. There we go. I hate technology, I really do. Right, here we go. You see a lot of this like stable structuring in the fours. And these are all hand painted by Margarete Petersen. It took her something like 20 years to build this deck, because these are all from big paintings or artworks. These are big pieces of artworks that she did and spent a lot of time with individually throughout her life. So this is a bit like a collection of her greatest hits, which I love. So that's the Margarete Petersen. And then the last tarot deck that I am really feeling at the moment. This tends to come out more in summer for me, but I think because we've had such a slow autumn or a long summer or a delayed summer, I'm still feeling it. So this is the Herbcrafter's Tarot, which is again one of my all-time favourites. I think it's particularly appropriate right now if you're looking at foraging and collecting things and storing things for the winter. Oh, sorry, wrong way, there we go. But each card is associated with a plant. In fact, I'm going to read to you a little bit about it, so because this is a really good book and the way they've done it is just incredible. Okay, so here the aces are dooryard herbs and weeds. The 2s are plants that attract pollinators or feed animal friends. The 3s are easy to grow. The 4s are used for borders and hedges, so you obviously get that idea of fencing out or like containing, organising with borders and hedges. Easy to grow with growth of the 3s. The 5s are all threatened or endangered, so there's that chaotic vibe of, you know, what we're going to do about this. 6 abundantly producing plants, 7 ancient trees, 8 root medicine plants, 9 fruit trees, and 10s cover crops and composting plants. So I've done it really well. I believe most of them are available or grow in the UK. There are some that don't, like the Pachamama is in this. We don't get that over here. Thyme, one of my favourites. But they're quite a soft image. There's like a fuzziness about them, and each card, when you look it up, gives you ways in which you can work with the plant that's in the card. So this is like an active practice deck, which I really love. I suppose this is more of a ritual deck for me. I will use this to guide my own rituals and practices throughout my day. Obviously read with reversals, sorry, I've got some of them reversed. Yeah, see, we don't get this in the UK, but the majority of them we do. Definitely get witch hazel, that's a big one for us. Eucalyptus, I'm not sure about. Cacao. Beautiful, look, the Wheel of Fortune. So, highly recommend this deck, but it's I feel like it's a good earth deck again, for whatever season you're in, really. It's only sticking around for me because, as I said, we've had this really delayed, prolonged summer, and I'm still there. I'm still in the space of picking things and collecting things and foraging and trying to, you know, I've still got plants that are still growing. We've just had freakishly hot weather in the middle of September, and now we've really gone the other way and we are into winds and rains and storms. So, you know. Okay, so on to oracles. The first one is a new to me oracle deck, which is so good. It doesn't come with any information, it's just the deck. This is another one of those viral decks that went absolutely massive, but it's not sold over here in the UK, so you have to wait for it. But the backs are beautiful on this, look, and I think this is the same creator as, I think it's the Wooden Tarot or something like that, and everything looks like it's wood. But this, I use this as a clarifier, and it works well with the decks that I've pulled out to work with for autumn. I mean, it works well for most decks, to be honest, but visually I do feel like it's got a bit of an autumnal vibe going on, and it is definitely one that I'm being called to use more and more often. It's just a quick, snappy, you know, if you need something clarified, this is a really good option. And obviously, because there's no little white book, it can be interpreted how you think it needs to be interpreted. It is a kick for your intuition more than a dedicated, this card is for, you know, past the obvious meaning. I try to separate it out into positive, negative, neutral. To be honest, it's really balanced. There's not much that wasn't both, that wasn't neutral. There are a few negatives, but I think they were negatives depending on how you could see them. So how you know, how you relate them in context to your question, I suppose. So that's my first oracle. It's a little quick, fun option, the Earthbound oracle. This is just gorgeous. The Woodland Wardens again. I think it's another sort of viral deck, I'm not sure. Just going to come out a little bit. So this is an animal deck. Animal and herb. So each, it's got a good chunky little white book. And has a few paragraphs for each card, but each card in the deck relates to an animal and a plant, and then gives you a keyword. So patience, the trout and the lily of the valley, the badger and the ginkgo, I believe it's pronounced ginkgo, the spider and the passion flower, the porcupine and the anemone, the weasel and the pine, the snail and the huckleberry, trust in the invisible, the owl and the hop, wisdom, the ram and the dahlia. And just to give you an idea, cayman and the poppy. I'm going to read one of them out for you. The crow and the dogwood. Let's read that one because, you know, I love a crow. The only thing I will say is that I wish they were in alphabetical order in the book. They're not in alphabetical order, which really upsets me. So I now have to go, so we are on 16, XV1. It doesn't give you a page, so let's look this up. Here we go. So the crow and the dogwood. The crow is an incredibly intelligent bird associated with the power of foresight and the ability to use tools. Today it's often used to signify darkness or foreboding, but modern depictions rarely do the crow justice. According to Norse folklore, the crow is a powerfully positive symbol meant to remind us of our skills and resources. It says, "You are capable of solving any problem." Like the crow, the dogwood has somewhat confused public image. Its beautiful light-coloured petals convey gentleness and whimsy. Few know that its hard back and strong frame make it an uncommonly durable tree, able to withstand the harshest weather. Upright, you have the tools. If it's upright, you have the tools to fulfill the goals and solve any problem that stands in your way. You only need look inward and find wisdom and strength. If it's in reverse, you may feel like a fraud or imposter. The crow is here to remind you of your intelligence, the dogwood of your strengths. Your accomplishments are your own and you deserve the success you've achieved. And then it's got a couple of questions for each card as well. For this, the questions are, what am I knowledgeable about? And what are my creative or professional goals and how can I accomplish them? So it's a nice little write-up and intro into the imagery in the card, and some interesting pairings, I suppose. The snake and the fern, gorgeous. The moth and the eucalyptus, an ending. The fox and the ivy. These are all hand-drawn digital illustrations by Jessica Roux, the artist and creatrix of this deck. This is a nice, I suppose it could be used just on its own, but for me, I tend to use it after a tarot spread as a finalizing thought. Bat, gorgeous. Hellebore is one of my favorites. I love hellebore. Beautiful. Intuition, the deer and the oat, the coyote and the datura, the hare and the oak. So yeah, beautiful options. Soft, muted, like a very gentle deck with a beautiful back. Also very beautiful in comparison to the, I love how it's mirroring the oak, ash and thorn. They mirror each other, that's lovely. Okay, the last oracle deck. on my autumn table anyway is the Urban Crow. I picked this up when I kept getting slapped in the face by crows. Not literally, but I feel like they have been following me around and my dad around as well, following us both around. I do genuinely believe that the rooks, there is a huge parliament of rooks right now that sits or lives in the trees at the back of my dad's building, and he goes out and feeds them ham and, you know, bread and things that he doesn't want from his fridge. And I went up in the lift, and the lift opens out onto the windows that lead onto the roof terrace, and my dad was out there surrounded by what felt like 100 crows, not crows, rooks, sorry, and he was feeding them ham. And I was just, first of all, it was quite, you know, initially it was quite frightening because there were so many of them. He has Alzheimer's, so he's not, you know, he's struggling at the moment, but he obviously does it often, and they've now grown to know that he is friendly and approachable. And then obviously one of the birds has told all of its mates that this is a good guy that's going to give us food. So after initially having a second of panic, I then realised that, you know, he was feeding them, and it was really sweet. And they've been in the trees ever since. And they also, when I go walking with him, there's usually a rook around as we're walking about, and I feel like they're watching over him at the moment. So that, you know, that was one of the situations where I started looking into corvids in general, and it prompted me to get this deck. So this deck is really interesting. This has been created by MJ McCullen, who has also made the, I think she made the Foxhara, I don't know how you pronounce it. She's also just brought out, I think it's called the Raven's Dream Oracle, or the Raven's Dream Tarot. But this is a person that studied crows in her local area and researched them and learnt about them. And so this has all come from like a genuine place of knowledge about how the crows live their lives, you know, what they're like, how they communicate with others, how they communicate with humans, their habits, their interests, what they tend to do throughout the seasons. It's a really, really interesting deck. The book is really interesting. Resistant self-interest. There's a lot. It's a good deck. I find it is good on its own, actually. I don't tend to pull tarot with it, but I wouldn't hesitate to if I wanted to. It's not that it can't be. I'll read you one of these. So one of the ones that I kept getting actually was, let me try and find it, caching. This one. Well, I only know this term from like a digital perspective, you know, like clear your cache, right? So number 7. Each thingy has a page of, you know, each card has a page of its own. So this says, one day while feeding my neighbourhood crows, I noticed one of them using their beak to push around some decaying leaves and then dig a hole. The bird looked around, checking to make sure it wasn't being watched, and then swiftly opened its mouth and dropped in the food. It was saving the dog kibble I had given it for later. The crow didn't want to eat the food right away, but it also didn't want to leave it around for some other creature to enjoy. You may find yourself either keeping an idea or possession hidden until the right time, or simply unwilling to let go of something you aren't using out of fear that someone else may benefit from your release or surrendering. Sometimes the moment is not right to move forward. However, it doesn't mean that the time will never arrive. You may be working on a project that holds a great deal of promise, but you are unable to devote your time and energy to at the moment. Setting the idea aside does not mean giving up. It just means you need to recognize that there will be value in waiting. Caching may also indicate that you will benefit from investing. This may be investing in yourself or investing in a financial situation. So, as I said, like there's a little bit of background about how this relates to the crows, and then how, you know, the actions involved, and then how it relates to your reading. And I just love it. I think it's such an interesting oracle, because you're learning about their habits as you go. So this is one of the ones that I'm assuming I feel like I'm going to rely on this quite heavily throughout the autumn. I just love it. And this is the Urban Crow Oracle. So there you have my autumn deck collection, not collection, autumn deck go-tos. If you are using decks for your autumn, please let me know what you're using. I'm really interested to see. I think it's quite a personal thing. You know, it depends on your situation, your mindset, what you're going through, how your environment is feeling at the moment. It's not so easy as just going, oh, it's autumn, so I'm going to drop everything and take on every orange deck I own. I think it's more about, you know, how you're feeling in that moment. A day is not always the boundary that holds us to transitioning and changing into a new space, right? So yeah, let me know what you're into, and if you liked any of these or plan to get any of these or have used any of these, it would be really good to talk to you. Thanks guys, lots of love.